Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to DC Studios Podcast, or in this case, Creature Commandos Podcast. Here on DC Studios Podcast, I'm your host Andy B, as always, and joining me as always are Lip and Mike. How are we doing today, gentlemen?
I'm in a good mood. I think this is a good episode to lead us in and starting of 2025. Happy New Year. Yes.
Happy New Year. Yeah, so we're here for the season finale of Creature Commandos, and first of all, I hope everyone had a great holiday when you're watching this. Yeah, and we're gonna do things a little bit different this week because we're gonna start with the episode discussion and then get into all the news that happened while we were all on hiatus. So yeah, so let's get to the seventh episode, a very funny monster, and my
Just real quick.
God.
Also important to note, this is the final episode of season 1 because we'll touch on this later. Creature Commandos has been renewed for second season.
There we go. Yeah, it's been renewed. Thank God. Max and DC Studios announced it, I think right before Christmas. So,
Yep.
yeah,
It was during the 5th episode is when they announced the renewal for the second season.
Yeah, well, there you go. Well, we will get into all that once we get to the new segments. So, but yeah, the finale. Okay, because I rewatched it today just to get ready for it, and I forgot how fucking emotional I was left the first time watching it, and I'm like, oh my God, this is like reliving all that trauma all over again. And so this episode is the Nina's origin story. Finally, every episode this season has been focusing on a specific character. Now we're finally getting to hers, as they're kind of getting ready to come full circle with dealing with Princess Alana. And we learned that she's because her lungs are born on the outside of her body. She's she struggles growing up. What we were not prepared for was just how first of all how shitty her mom is, and which by the way cursing is allowed on this podcast. But and we see that throughout the episode explains how she comes to look like the Nina that we see in present time, and the difficulty she had like trying to go to school and just trying to fit into society before eventually like trying just running away, and but just being captured and losing her father at the same time. So let's start with you. What did you think of Nina's traumatic upbringing?
Well, you know what? There were a lot of emotions. I just like I wrestle with who has the more tragic upbringing, right? Because Weasel, we didn't necessarily see Weasel's upbringing. We just saw how he got incarcerated, right? And that's a tragic backstory in of itself. But when it comes to Nina, you literally see the trial and tribulation that she was put through as an infant, her mother walking out on her, and then as a teenager getting bullied for her look. It's like, I'm sure all of us can relate to that on some level, right? Like, this is the one origin of them all where I genuinely look back on and I'm just like, yeah, she probably had it the worst of them all, easily. Because, G.I. Robot, he was made to kill Nazis. It's fucking that simple. It's very cut and dry, and that he gets incarcerated because of that. The Bride and Frankenstein are two sides of the same coin. They are monsters made by a nut job. And, well, that nut job does things with the Bride he didn't do with Frankenstein, and that's why that's that. But, like, then you get to Weasel, and Weasel's like, oh, man, he was framed for murdering 27 people, but in reality, he was just trying to save 8 kids out of a fucking burning fire. It's like, dude, what? Then you get to Dr. Phosphorus, who's just a flat-out fucking supervillain. There's no denying that whatsoever, right? But again, like, what happened with him? He got in business with the wrong people. His family gets murdered. So what does he do? He fucking snaps, and after his transformation, which is very much like a dark mirror of Dr. Manhattan in some respects, he goes full hog and becomes a supervillain. But Nina? Dude, talk about innocence maintained through and through, despite everything. She maintains this level of like, oh no, I don't care how evil people can be to me. I'm never going to be that evil to other people. And that's the fucking tragic part of it all. Because when you get to the climax of this episode, you're just like, oh man, there's the thing. James Gunn does what he does best. I don't know. I have a lot of mixed feelings, but mixed in the way of like, it's a more good mix than it is like a negative mix. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's definitely just a lot of mixed heavy emotions because like again, I truly think that Nina has probably the most tragic origin of them all, which is
Mhm.
why they probably saved her for last.
Mike, how did you feel about it?
Yeah, I was waiting for us to do this one because this one I felt the most related to with Nina, because I was born with like a very very severe case of eczema, like 80% of my body, say as a toddler, so like it affected me in terms of how like I was in public, how I walk, how I would carry myself, and everything. It was something I couldn't control. Like I couldn't stay. No, at the time I was like 2 or 3. Like I couldn't, sit here right now, talk to you guys, and be still because I'll constantly scratch and everything. So, I understand the stress that put, on a parent. Definitely dealing with the child with a birth defect, whatever. But at the same time, you see two sides of the same coin. You see the good of a father that's devoted to his child by any means necessary, the protected child. But then you have to know another side, the mother, again, like, oh yeah, I don't want that child because of of their birth defect or anything. This can be related to a lot of issues, especially today, in our society. Parents that walk out for kids and probably have autism or other things or any other things that might be that they didn't that was just like a birth defect, whatever, or born with a disability, whatever that might be. But this is even again, it's more sad because she at in the heart of everything she's gone through, she was still a good person. She didn't do anything wrong. And we realized even up to the point how she got to Bel Rev into the prison, you thought she would go in jail because she murdered somebody or anything. Like, no, she got in there because she was captured and because the way she looked. And at the Spence seeing that her dad, the only person in the world that actually votes her, got killed in front of her, is even making it even more worse. But then at the same time, thinking that moment of, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this one thing because now I finally have friends, right? And only for that to be just to lead to your demise, right? And it's sad. So and I feel like whenever we see these other characters live action, that we'll see that weight on their shoulders of like, hey, the one person out of this whole freaking team died, and we pushed her to her death. And she was actually the nicest person out of this team. The only one that was actually a good person, really. Um, yeah, I feel like this to me was just a sad, but also a story about friendship and too, with people that act so guarded, in their lives, and then realize that the people that they let in and not because they're afraid that no one's gonna like them. They don't afraid like if I grow an attachment, you might leave or you might die or you might get hurt or something. And in the case of these monsters, you might get hurt by my own actions, by my own, and then I think that's just there's whole many layers I think for people can relate to if you think on this on a more like emotional level, but psychological level too, just in terms of how you deal with people and friends and stuff, and loved ones. But yeah, I think that again, James did what he does best with these characters. Again, make you invest to a characters at first you didn't give a damn about, and now all of a sudden you're crying for them, and you actually feel related to them. And again, if he could do this with these characters, imagine we didn't do with more iconic characters. So yeah, this was a win in terms of the writing level. This was a win.
Yeah, no, I mean, this is why when I even just getting into the show to begin with is like this is why I preferred seeing what he's done with the Creature Commandos characters as opposed to, Suicide Squad, where I feel like this is like more of his territory. Suicide Squad, I think it's a very, I mean, and I said this multiple times that I don't think Suicide Squad is something that should be a comedic concept, and I think that's why I don't really like the Suicide Squad movie that much, the second one. And for me, like when I see Creature Commander, like this is kind of like why I felt, fell in love with James Gunn as like a filmmaker and a storyteller, because of what he did with Guardians, where like these aren't these, because again with Suicide Squad, like most of them are evil, like a lot of them are traditional supervillains, but with Guardians, like they are very rough characters that are trying to just survive, and they have to do things for their own survivals and whatnot. And when it comes to Creature Commander, like, that's the same thing here. Like even Dr. Phosphorus, like he's a tragic villain because like he wasn't born evil. He had to he had to be traumatized, and he basically lost his mind. Um, to get where he is. So in this case, when it came to Nina, like, because she's been like, like the shining light, and along with J.R. Robot throughout this whole season of like, they have, they're what's the word I'm like looking for, they're heartful, like they're very, they're optimistic, they're not, sassy or witty or have dark humor, so on. And
They're more or
so
less the innocent ones of the bunch.
they are very,
Yeah.
well, I mean, like, I mean, you can even say that the bride is innocent too. Like, she's innocent in a lot of ways because she was forced to be created,
True.
and
Yeah.
Weasel is also, we know he's innocent, and so like again, it really, I mean, again, this is why I really enjoy the show, and seeing again, yeah, my heart always breaks when I see characters that like they're born with something, and then at least like one of their parents is always kind of like against
Yeah.
it, and but just seeing how much her father was trying to help her and save her and really just give her a place in the world. But that's why like it was so heartbreaking that he's the one who he also bite he bite dust in the flashbacks, um and again I just get so like again, this is why I'm like, whenever we get to the X-Men in the MCU, I'm just like, damn, like this is what we're gonna have to go through all over again, because a lot of these characters are gonna be like misunderstood because of the way they look, um um also, I just wanted to like fucking slap those like school kids of being like, like comparing her to a frog. Like, does she look like a frog to you? Like why the like God, like I'm not even that good at biology, but even I can tell like they just look like a frog. So if you're gonna try to like make fun of her, make it make sense. Even though you shouldn't, of course, make fun of people.
So speaking of those school kids, there was one of them, which is why I mentioned earlier. One of those kids, and I don't want to try to read between the lines here, but one of them kids was bald.
Huh.
And yeah, in a private school, uh, like, and I don't know what city that they're in. I don't know, but I gotta look because I'm like, but anyway, I had to go look at this episode again, look at that character design. I'm like, okay, the only thing that's me having me questioning that if it's not Lex Luthor, if that one kid is the skin tone. But if that is Lex Luthor, I think that actually be very interesting. But yeah, anyway, again, I don't want to look too much into it, but I don't know a lot of kids in like not elementary school, but either high school or middle school, whatever you want to call it, that's bald. Like I mean,
I think James Gunn already said a while ago that Luthor wasn't in the series in any capacity, but
okay.
there is a mention of Metropolis and Bloodhaven in this episode.
Yes. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, again, he could be. I gotta wait to the Rotten Tomatoes breakdown to say it, but hey, I mean, I'm just saying it looked like it. But to your point, Andy, like, yeah, the persecution is one of the things that I feel like, well, are either the fear of abandonment, the need of acceptance, and that those type of feelings, I feel like with certain characters that mass audiences can draw, like, attach themselves to, especially, you mentioned like with the X-Men, but with these characters here, we come here, they have a more darker element because we also have the world of DC on that, in which I feel like do kind of better than what Marvel in terms of like more darker stories. But yeah, they were able to balance that cohesively, but at the same time, on different levels of your understanding, you seeing all these different characters with different backgrounds, and some of them you could say, yes, clearly, yes, this person is a villain, but I understand why they are a villain. And then other people like, no, she didn't deserve this, right? And you have other person like, oh, this person's misunderstood. And then another one like, this dude's just a freaking animal, or but I can't understand him. But yeah, he's the most tragic, one of the most tragic people. But I can't understand what he's saying. That can be a metaphor for people with different languages or something. There's many layers to it that I feel like again with these characters that even though they don't have like this long get massive fan base, but I think after this show, I think people are gonna grow attached with some of these characters. But again, the character study, you understand why these people are who they are, and I feel like that's why you make them more multidimensional instead of one noted.
Yeah, I mean, you can also just from the sheer comic bookness of it all too, right? Like if you look at each episode, you know, episode 4, and like the first half really kind of leans heavily into, you know, Argus, the sons of Themyscira, Cersei herself having ties to Wonder Woman, and then that comes to fruition with episode 4 and the whole apocalyptic vision, and you get like a sense of how filled out this world actually is. You get a couple lovely little Easter eggs like Wonder Woman's, Batman, of course, David Cornsweat's Superman, as we very clearly saw. And then as the episodes progresses from, you know, the Iron Pot onward, you also get, you know, a glimpse of Gotham City with Dr. Phosphorus and Rupert Thorne, and like just how varied and different this universe actually does feel. So much so to this episode where by the end of it, you're just like, holy shit, I just went on like a mission with these guys, and I grew to know all of them, and I feel something for all of these characters, more or less. I mean, for being honest, I mean, if I'm being honest anyway, I feel like the one that really kind of doesn't ring too hard is probably Frankenstein. And I'm not saying he was super undeveloped or anything, but like just by comparison of the other characters, you know, there really wasn't too much going on. Like, yeah, he got burnt to a crisp by the bride after they blew up the castle. Then he gets taken in by the old lady, and he's still honed in on trying to get with the bride. And then he promptly puts that old lady out of her misery with an iron pot, hence the name of the episode. But there's really not much to that character. But I think that's also by design too.
Yes.
The big draw for the character is the wit, the charm, the way he's written, and also the performance from David Harbour. But every other character, it's all about backstory. It's all about tragic upbringing. It's all about trauma. It's about a melting pot of different shit, to where I guarantee you none of us even knew who the hell the Creature Commandos were until this series was announced. And it's done what it needed to do, in that it gave us insight to these characters. I don't think any of us even had an inkling of, maybe minus Dr. Phosphorus.
Yes.
I had a very small like when I saw the casting announcement and I saw the character roster, I was like, oh, he's a fucking Batman villain. I was like, yeah, okay, well, I doubt we're going to Gotham City. Boy, howdy, was I wrong about that.
Oh,
but again, like it's again, like James Gunn doing what he does best. He takes oddballs and he actually makes you give a shit about them. And they didn't need to be funny to do it either. Just saying.
Yeah, yes. and I think maybe that's something, you know, that he, you know, was like really thinking about, like when he, after he done the Suicide Squad, like maybe he thought, you know, because he's, you know, we know that this was something he was working on early on, and maybe he thought, like, you know what, let me take a different approach to the Creature Commandos, and you know, but again, like now, like I think this is why I'm like, you know, I don't think of the Creature, you know, because I've seen some people being like, oh, Creature Commandos is just their filler till they get to Superman. No, I think these could become like legit fleshed out characters that we're gonna see, you know, through several years. You know, like I think that Creature Command, like, you know, I think if Warner Bros. Has learned anything, they should know that like something like Doom Patrol does so well for the DC brand, and like, yeah, I'm sure DC Studios is also aware that, yeah, let's use something like the Creature Commandos, and this way we kind of also, you know, we can, because I don't really think we're ever going to deal with a Suicide Squad ever again, or like at least for like a very, yeah, like if we even get to any kind of like another like team that is led by Waller, I think it's next going to be Secret Six, and like, yeah, I think that Suicide Squad is such a mixed, you know, like in the general on, I think it's such a mixed brand now that I think like they're like, let's not just do that, but let's get to the but in the present time, boy, does shit go down.
Holy shit, yeah, right?
And because so first of all, they make Nina being the one who has to kill Ilana.
Well, they have to get to Ilana first, and that's a whole trial in and of itself, because they run into Frankenstein beforehand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, see, this is why I'm not good at recapping. So you know what, Lip, you take it from here.
So not only do we get the inevitable reunion of the bride and Frankenstein, what does she do? You see him in creeper form straight up jump in the window of the security, and he's just like, my bride, and she's like, oh fuck no, and puts a couple in his chest, rightfully so, because she doesn't want anything to do with him.
Yeah,
this is a straight up parallel of some real world shit women deal with. Like, they deal with online stalkers. They deal with men who just want them for the for the trophy. They just want them for the physicality of just wanting the woman for the woman. And it's like, no, there's so much more to being in a relationship and actually taking care of a lady. But that's the thing. Like, and again, I think David Harbour plays this really well, because all he's just an infatuated idiot who doesn't know any better. All he sees, and what was he created for? To be a monster. What did he tell Victor Frankenstein? Make me a bride. And that's all he gives a shit about. He just wants a wife. He doesn't care about the way she feels. He doesn't give a shit about what she does or what she wants to do. He just wants her to himself, which is very reflective of a lot of angry, selfish men in our time that we live in now. Whereas the bride is very much an independent woman who does not need a man to be taken care of. She's very much just like, fuck you. Bam, bam, bam. I will fucking kill you. And I actually really love that about her character. Strong female character.
Guarded. She's emotionally guarded.
Strong female character. I can't help but think this may go over well with a certain crowd of people, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, when they come across Frankenstein, they also come across something on the computer that we don't get the reveal of until the very end of the episode, which I was like, oh, that's going to piss some people off. But I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. I also loved that Rick Flag came in and out of consciousness. And Waller was just like, oh, shit. Like, she realized, I fucked up. So what does she do? She scrambles to try and get to the commandos to be like, hey, you kind of need to abort the mission.
Too late.
A little too late.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, they almost would have gotten away with killing her too if Weasel didn't make himself known.
Yes. Again, what trauma affects our president so much.
Because all he sees, and when he sees Alana, he sees a little girl,
right?
And to me, I'm kind of like, but Weasel, sweetie, you do know that there's more people in the world that has blonde hair, right? But I get it. Like he's a complex creature, and Amanda Waller is not that good at leading. Like she keeps fumbling.
How much you want to bet this is what leads her to get ousted from being the head of Argus?
No. I
thought she already was.
No, she was outed for the Suicide Squad, right? And which they're currently under investigation because they made a whole global like law or bill. We're basically saying you cannot use metahumans in terms of any type of spec ops team or anything. So he's like, okay, well, we got to abide by the rules. So I'm like, all right, at least I can use monsters, but at the same time, they're still under investigation with that, which would probably lead into a little bit in Peacemaker season 2 because the daughter is also in there as well. And as well, I'm pretty sure Amanda Waller is going to be in there just briefly before, and that'll lead into her own show whenever they get developing that and stuff. And I do believe the writer of the Doom Patrol is also attached to that project as well.
Jeremy Carver is writing Waller, and he's executive producing it. Yes.
Yeah, so
he was a good showrunner, dude. But also, we're in good hands when it comes to Marvel. Also, Crystal Henry, I think, from Watchmen.
Yes. Yes.
Listen, I don't mind the fact that they're going back to all these 8 Watchmen people. Like we have Damon Lindelof, and now we have her. I mean, it's kind of like, listen, like if we can't get a season 2 of Watchmen, then like bring on the people who made that show a fucking
make lanterns. Come on, let's get it.
Exactly. Like I cannot wait to see who else from that like roster of people will hopefully get to come back.
Amen to that. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny. I just think it's very funny just seeing that Amanda Waller is like she can't, like I don't think she can lead for shit. I think that's why we haven't because again we know in the comments Amanda Waller is a very she's a force to be reckoned with, and I think that
well she was sorry I don't mean to cut you off, but just to interject and add real quick, she is technically like the big bad of the absolute power stuff before they moved into absolute all in.
Exactly, and I think that we're gonna see her grow into that. Even though like when David Ayer first introduced her, she had been active as for however many years and stuff like that. But we know that it's most likely that this still like we haven't really dealt with Amanda's origin story yet of like becoming the tough ass character that we all know her to be. So I think that's why they decided to not only bring back Viola Davis but also make her a central character this early in chapter 1. Yes, Lib.
Do you know Amanda Waller's origin story?
Oh yeah, I know like her like the loss of her family, her husband in
Yep.
Chicago. Like I know like, it's like you
Yeah.
know
She's
like
got a fucked up backstory
oh yeah
that leads her to where she is. Like, for anyone who doesn't know, Amanda Waller's son gets murdered in a standoff in like a shitty part of town. Her daughter, not the one that we know, but in the comics, her daughter ends up becoming like beaten and used as like a drug infused prostitute to some extent. And her husband goes to like find their daughter, and he ends up getting killed. So Amanda Waller then takes it upon herself to like put herself through school and work her way up the government ladder to become a force to be fucking reckoned with. There's a reason why she's as tough as nails. It's because she's seen the worst of what humanity can offer, and she's going to basically do her best to stop humanity from being wiped out by anything worse. She's got like a really tragic backstory, and I don't know how you modernize that. I don't know if they will modernize that. It would be very interesting to see how they go into that in the Waller TV show, if they do at all. But yeah, Amanda Waller has
yeah.
like just a tragic backstory as anyone else in the Creature Commandos.
Yeah, they definitely like adjusted to like I mean like obviously with one daughter being alive, I mean she could have. I mean I still think the other kids may be dead and her husband may be gone.
Right.
But yeah, because I remember like the only the only time we've ever even like heard anything remotely close to her backstory in live action DC
Green
was
Lantern.
not even in Green Lantern. I was thinking Smallville actually, because when she was first introduced, she briefly referenced that she came from Chicago because she's like, I grew up in Chicago. The cold doesn't bother me. Why does I feel like a reference to something else?
I don't know.
She said something like that. No, it's Elsa. I was thinking about Elsa. I'm like, oh god, god, did Frozen rip off like the cold never because she literally because Icicle is like Icicle is like attacking her and Amanda was like Icicle, I grew up in Chicago, the cold doesn't bother me. But yeah, hopefully this is why I'm like when people were like, why are they doing an Amanda Waller show? I'm like, why the fuck not? If you got Viola Davis, you don't say more Viola, not less Viola.
Like, and also it would be smart in terms of also how we see how this the episode ends. But before we get into that, like what Amanda Waller is a character, and much people see you can see similarities in terms of like Nick Fury and of a character that government wise moves across the different character stories. But her is something different. Like when she shows up, it's like, oh shit about to go down. And then as when we see the DC universe come to fruition and as they create their own organization as heroes and stuff, that definitely the push and pull of the government. Like again, my oldest child memory from Justice Limited, that whole Argus, Katniss era with against the Justice League and stuff, and then they had beat Lex Luthor when he was shutting down the Watchtower. They were cloning their own heroes, their own quote unquote Justice League, or just a bunch of clones of what's called the Ultimate or whatever, and they had a clone of Supergirl and stuff like that. But yeah, like that. But and then also how she checked Bruce Wayne, called him rich boy, but I'm not going to expose your secret identity, and that is that balance of power. Even the fact that she is human, she has no superpowers, but in terms of her wisdom, her influence, more importantly, her intellect is one of the biggest things that are contributing to her as a character. That you can literally put her in any aspect of the DC universe, and you can find some way to her. It'll make sense why she's there. So
absolutely,
like, yeah.
So Nina gets killed.
Great, that was great.
Yeah.
Okay, so when she did get killed, I actually really liked. And this is going to sound, well, it's not really terrible, but it's more speaking to the animation than it is, the actual act, right? But the way that Nina mimicked the princess's movements in the water and the way that was done.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
She mimics the princess from below. And it's not until the princess sees Weasel is when she looks down and realizes that Nina is coming for her with the knife. And then they fucking duke it out underwater. And then she just
got her real
and like to jump ahead a little bit, we saw GI Robot, and I'm just like, I wish there was a way that we would know if Nina could come back or not, but I feel like James Gunn isn't one to pull punches, and I feel like if anyone is going to remain dead, it's probably going to be Nina Mazursky, which sucks because I like the character and I want to see her evolve, but I feel like at the same time, like, her death is what solidifies this whole thing to lead to where we see what happens with the bride and the princess later on. Like, you kind of need Nina to die for the bride to act in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
because the bride ultimately has been on this journey of just like, ooh, fuck everybody. I don't need friends. And then she finally befriends someone, and it's her fault that friend gets killed. And she totally blames Princess Ileana. She's like, you know what? If it wasn't for you, my friend wouldn't be fucking dead. So I'm not only going to kill you. Matter of fact, it has nothing to do with the fact that you framed Clayface and did all this shit, right? No. I'm going to kill you because you fucking killed my friend. Like, that's the reason she does it. Not even because of, like, orders or because they found the security footage of Princess Ileana talking to Clayface. No, she did it because she wanted to get revenge for her friend. And I'm just like, you know what? That right there, that whole bit, that all of everything with the bride in this show, that's character development right there. Because you had someone go from being so turned off and so just abrasive to just interacting with any of these people, but you had Nina constantly just kind of trailing her and being like, hey, you know, you don't need to be alone. I can be there for you. You need someone to talk to. I'm fucking here for you. And like, even when they're in the brothel and bride fucking kills the metahumans because they tried to go after Nina, and she's like, well, see, why'd you do that? And Bride's like, I didn't fucking do it for you. She goes, oh, really? Are you sure? And she's like, keep it to yourself, fish. It's like, yeah, she grew to like Nina. And by the end of it, it was just like, that's going to take a toll on her. That is going to absolutely take a toll on the bride. The next time we see the bride, be it in a second season of Creature Commandos or otherwise, the death of Nina Mazursky is going to always weigh on her. Out of anyone else in the Creature Commandos, it's going to weigh on her the most.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was to me, again, the dialogue for that, because again, regardless of like action or CGI, whatever, again, if I actually don't give a damn about what these characters are doing, but more importantly, what these characters are saying, that's where I feel like that's the big win as a writer, that you have to get to the audience. And again, what the dialogue for that scene, just like explaining, like, I'm not doing this for the greater good or for a sense of good versus evil. Like, you just killed my friend. I'm gonna make a selfish decision right now, even when I'm told to stand down. Oh yeah, we made a mistake. No, I'm killing her now. And then, but also realizing that Amanda Waller, when she thought she messed up, but then Bride was like, actually, no. She, you actually are the crazy psychopath that we thought you were. It's just that you were just trying to to play us, but I caught you for what you were, man. And you saw that how she killed Nina, and it was no dialogue. It was her face when she did it, right? And so that was one thing of like, oh, was that vision just a permutation, or like, oh, that's just like or something, like, no, like, yeah, that's not true. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. But actually, what she showed you was real. This is a crazy bitch. Kill her. And I just like the way that they did that to honor that. But then I think people are gonna have an issue with this episode on a different level too. But I kind of like it because I'm like, yes, I'm glad you guys are pissed off.
Did you guys see the Frankenstein nod in the library right before she kills?
Yes.
Princess?
Yes.
I may have missed that.
Okay, so when the bride is rummaging through the books, she lands on a book that's written by Mary Shelley. Mary Shelley's the author of Frankenstein.
Frankenstein. Yes.
That's kind of like very meta, because like she's because I probably would have wanted to have seen. I probably would have expected to go, why are these people? Do these people think I'm fictional? I'm real? Like, in that case, I wonder, like, what
they could go that route. I mean, but I think it's almost that's not the main point that they were going with. And honestly, I think it was just just an Easter egg there, just to put that,
I know. I'm just reading into it because I'm just thinking, like, well, like, if because in our world, Frankenstein and the Bride are fictional characters that we've known from decades and decades of storytelling, but in the DC universe, they're actually real. So I wonder, like, what that would do to someone like her, realizing, wait, they've like how do they know I exist? Like, how do they know that I, or how do they know about me? Or, like, this is what they think happened to me or whatever. I don't know. I just thought that would be interesting, but
It's very meta in that way. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
I
we
mean,
see.
like that's another thing too about this show is like it gives you an idea of just how the universe operates in terms of like a timeline, but also in terms of just historically, because i.e. Mary Shelley wrote the book in 1818. So she wrote it based off of that incident that happened between, Frankenstein and the bride. Who knows, or how you've got GI Robot in World War II with Sergeant Rock. Like that's also a thing. Or how Will Magnus created the Metal Men because of GI Robot, or like how Phosphorus gets picked up by Batman. That clearly happens at a point early in Batman's career before we eventually meet him with Damian Wayne. It's all like it's like Star Wars in a way where you get these little bits in certain time spots. It's pretty fucking cool. IMO. Anyway, go on. Sorry to
Yeah, no, you're good. I was gonna say so. We see, and I love that the bride is the one who gets like to find, to take out Ilana, and just to build up to it because I'm looking at it because I'm watching the the screener version and like I see like the player and I'm like, there's only 3 minutes left. Like what are they like? How's this gonna end? And then she actually just goes through and killing her. Now I will say I don't know necessarily if Maria Bakalova and Zoe Zhao are necessarily done with the DCU. I think they could still come back in other roles.
If Alan Tudyk can play Will Magnus, Dr. Phosphorus in an unnamed role in Superman, they for sure can come back
and Clayface.
Thank you, and Clayface, yes.
Oh my god, what if Clayface actually is in Superman somehow?
No, I think he's playing the voice of Calyx. Yes.
You know what? I didn't think about that until you said it, but you might be onto something there.
Yeah, I think
because everyone's convinced he's voicing like some version of Brainiac, and I'm
Brainiac,
like, no.
I love Alan Tudyk, but like that's
No, you don't bring in Alan Tudyk to voice Brainiac in a Superman. No, if you're gonna bring Brainiac in a Superman movie, you cast somebody else. And then that's not a slight to Alan Tudyk, but it's just like I don't think that you just bring in Alan Tudyk for a one and done Brainiac. Like I feel like if you're gonna use Brainiac, you fucking use Brainiac. But
I mean, it would make more sense if he is also like if Clayface is somehow in the movie, because that's because I mean you don't want to go too wild and like have him get play too many characters.
Let me put it to you this way, okay? If there is anyone from the Creature Commandos in Superman, by some chance, because Rick Flag's going to be there, okay? Frank Grillo's in the movie. Who else is in the movie? His brother Sean Gunn.
Well, he's playing Maxwell.
He is playing Maxwell Lord, you're right, but they've also said that by way of Superman, they've figured out a way to bring characters to life like GI Robot, which also would maybe possibly include Weasel.
I mean, I kind of want to see. I want to see GI Robot first in live, especially because now that he's.
All I'm saying is like you've got his brother there who's played these characters, and it's just if you wanted to sneak in some cameos, he's there, and it's present, it's possible. Not saying it's going to happen. I don't know anything because I'm not that connected. Now, Lord knows, even if I was, I wouldn't say it. But
I just think that there's going to be a moment in the movie where, and I hope, because I just trust James Gunn, that there's going to be a moment that I think we're always going to go back to in the Superman movie where David Cornsweet solidified himself as Superman, or in terms of either giving a speech or something about hope, whatever. And then let's say this message is getting spanned across the world, and all of a sudden you just see people all across the world, but yet like, and they show moments, but not actually characters' faces or something like that. He's like, "Oh, that's Gotham City," and it's like, "Hey, there might be an office room in Wayne Tech or something," and yet they don't have to show you who it is, but he's watching this message that Superman is solidifying, giving hope. I don't know. I'm just fanboying right now. But hey, listen.
You know what I think? So we got that snippet from GBS, the global news station that Gordon Godfrey works for. We got that snippet of the, oh man, it's that nation that's going through like a civil unrest, and the kids holding up the flag.
Where Gorilla Grodd is at. Yes.
Okay, so maybe there's another news bit in there about death of the princess of Kolistan.
Yes. Yes.
That
I
would make
would,
sense.
I would, if that is in the movie, I'd be like, ha, I know what that means. But time will tell, you know. Maybe
I
someone
mean,
at the Daily Planet's reporting on it. Who knows?
I mean, that would make sense. That would make sense. I mean, I also like. I mean, if they somehow like, if Sean Gunn was somehow playing G.I. Robot in Superman, it would be fun to see how they're gonna try. Because again, I mean, he comes back in this episode and like he looks. I mean, he's bulked.
He's
you know,
huge. He's
yeah.
like Clank and Ratchet and Clank. Big.
I was thinking Iron Giant.
Or Hulkbuster. I was giving Hulkbuster type. Yeah. Like not more of height, but more mass. You know.
I mean, I continue to go back to Ratchet and Clank because there's a point I think in
yes,
Up Your
you're
Arsenal,
not wrong. You're not wrong.
he gets that that yoked, right? And yeah, that's kind of where my mind went. But also, there is another familiar face from the Suicide Squad at the end of that little bit. Yeah.
I'm hungry.
Oh, okay, so I mean, let's get to it because there isn't really much else to discuss. I think we've broken everything, but yeah, the post. We get Bride gets tasked that she's now going to lead the Creature Commandos, and we see a lot of other new characters we've seen this season, but also King Shark, who is definitely not voiced by Sylvester Stallone in this.
Are you sure?
It did. I mean, it doesn't sound anything like him. I mean, I can
really. Oh no, that I think there was not much dialogue for that one scene though. But that is the version of from King Shark from Suicide Squad. It's like verbatim.
No, I get it. I'm just saying that it's just because they look like someone, they could easily still get recast.
Yeah,
like,
I mean it's not. Yeah, I wouldn't find a big
like,
deal.
I mean, and also because they're not going to give money, they're not going to spend money on bringing. So I mean, because Stallone would cost a lot for just a single line in an animated TV show. I mean, I can look at the credits list right now and see if anyone comes up being listed as yeah, like because I always have like, let's see,
to save on budget, I would get somebody just to do that one scene.
It's Cedric Bader.
Okay. But yeah, I thought that was cool there. Also, again, I still need to get in terms of the history of Creature Commandos, but you still have that vampire girl like with the wings.
Yeah,
there.
Yeah, I wonder. Yeah, I don't know who any of those are supposed to be, and if whether or not all of them are going to be members in season 2. But we have this idea that there are these other creatures out in Argus or Belrev, where they're at, that they can utilize. So it's a matter of time. But yeah, it's gonna be exciting. I was excited, because they talked so much about that. The Bride was really like the central character of season 1, and at first I didn't really understand what they meant, but now seeing that now I see that, okay, I can see her now more as like the lead of the show, because now she's come full circle. She's gonna lead this team and lead these characters after having gone through what she's gone through throughout season 1. But yeah, no, I mean, listen, when it comes to King Shark, my favorite version of King Shark is always be on the Flash's version of King Shark.
I don't mind that one either.
Yeah, like I think King Shark in live action for the DC EU and now clearly DCU, like he still looks like too kid friendly. I'm like,
I for a personal preference, because listen, I didn't mind the version of King Shark in Suicide Squad. However, I would like again, I understand the parts that we can be kid friendly about. We already got Crypto, we already got other characters and stuff like that. But I mean, again, I would like to do more the darker versions of certain characters, but at the same time, you do what you do to humanize them, understand like, oh, actually, I like this character. They're still a bad person, but I get their backstory for me to care about them, whatever, or be invested with them, right? But I think again, King Shark was one of the highlights of the Suicide Squad, so it only made sense. But I did not gonna lie, when I saw that he was there, I was happy. It's like, of all the characters you continued, it's like, yeah, this is gatekeeping at its finest. At this point. But I'm not the CEO here, so I'm like, hey, listen, if it was my choice, I understand.
Liv, what were your thoughts on the
Yeah.
final scene?
I mean, I wasn't really okay. Yeah, like who else is there? Could you possibly have on a squad called Creature Commandos Task Force Monster? Probably King Shark. There's probably a handful of other characters that I don't know, because I love a lot of DC stuff. I've done my research a lot, but there are characters that when they popped up here, I was like, who the fuck is that?
Yeah, who?
And I'm sure if there was, if when the second season rolls around, we probably could see some other new players. I don't know. Kind of depends on whatever mission they decide to go on. But you know, seeing King Shark, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That tracks, and it's very clearly the same one from the Suicide Squad. You know,
Yeah.
I like that look for King Shark, but I also am a fan of the Hammerhead version. It's like he's gone through a couple different versions over the years.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I like the look, not a fan of the personality too much. Like I am not a fan of the whole childlike King Shark. I'm not really too big on that. I think Ron Funches does a pretty solid job in Harley Quinn.
Yeah. That's a good balance.
Yeah, because there's a good balance of adult and goof there, but at the same time, like he's also kind of the IT guy. But they also humanize those characters too, because he's a dad now and he's got little shark kids, and well, he's got a shitty ex-wife.
Damn, they just went ahead and did everything with him. Apparently,
have you not been watching
I don't-
Harley Quinn?
I don't know. I never got into Harley Quinn.
Okay.
I mean, I started when we were doing the Flash podcast during the hiatuses. We started doing like episode commentaries because me and Lacey hadn't seen Harley Quinn, so we watched a couple of the first episodes. But then of course, life does. It just takes over and just you get too busy and so on. And I'm like, if I ever get around to watching it, I will.
Binge it.
Makes for a good binge. I will say that.
It is. And it's actually like even it gets crazier like in season 3 or season 2. But like with stuff. But I felt with those characters, like for example, you mentioned with King Shark, that was a good balance of you have the adult humor of it all, but at the same time you have the kid friendly too. It's like, oh yeah, you want to hug them, but still don't fuck with them.
Yeah, it's very much like it's kind of like Venture Bros tonally a little bit.
Yeah.
In terms of execution. I'm sure you saw the first few episodes. You kind of get the gist of it. But it's very like, I think the best way I could say it is like, what if the DC universe catered to Harley Quinn? Would be the best way I could say describes that series as a whole in terms of what it has become. Because you follow Harley Quinn, you follow her relationship with Poison Ivy, you see how like the DC universe kind of operates and like through her perspective and like
around her.
You do get like a fully fledged universe too. Like you get Batman, you get Nightwing, you get Robin, you get Batgirl, Superman, Wonder Woman, like some really obscure pulls from DC's canon.
Like this new season, we're getting Red X. Like,
oh damn,
yeah, I was like, what?
Yeah, and I feel like Dean, if I'm not mistaken, I believe Dean Lorry also executive produced that too.
Yeah.
I think he did. I hope I'm not wrong about that.
No, he works on Harley Quinn. He works on Harley Quinn.
Okay, yeah. It's Creature Commandos from a like dark humor perspective takes some similar beats. They have some similar tonality to it, and even in terms of like the action, like it's very bloody and very gory in the same manner. But yeah, like I think Creature Commandos is a pretty solid show, all things considered. Like it had moments that I wouldn't say drag, but just moments that just felt stronger than other parts. But that's not to say that the show had a weak point, because I don't think it ever really did. It just had stronger moments than other moments. Like there was good and then there was great.
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of where I landed with it.
Well, let's get to the post-credits scene. But again, it's Frankenstein. We get a good idea that he's not giving up on Bride, and
Right.
I don't know what else to say about it. I'm like, okay, I feel like, I know that someone had said that there's gonna be post-credit scenes in like the finale, or whatever. So I'm kind of like, oh, I wish you really hadn't said it.
Because because it's not
because
supposed to
I'm
be that big of a hype. Like,
yeah, exactly. You know, because now I feel like those fans are just gonna get like insanely nutty and just like pissed off, and I'm like, well, you
yeah,
know, again, like this, we don't need post credit scenes to like to tease whatever's coming next, like you know, for other DC projects. I think that's what people keep expecting, like that this could be like the MCU. I'm like, no, like we see it's not even working anymore with the MCU when they do that.
Even just thinking about it now, since the post-credit scene focused on Frankenstein, right?
Mhm.
I feel like maybe, just maybe, since this first season you saw kind of an evolution of how the bride went through something, maybe the next season might have a focus on Eric Frankenstein and him maybe coming to terms with the fact like maybe I should just go be my own self and just leave her the fuck alone.
Well,
But I don't
obviously
know.
they're gonna have because he's obviously gonna become a member of the team, but they have to find a way where like you know she's not stuck on the team with a stalker. I think it's gonna be like she's gonna have to make you know be the one. Like, if you're gonna be part of my team, you need to get the fuck over me. You know, and that's that. Um, Mike, any final thoughts for you about the post credit scene? If he's still there,
all right here.
I think he's adjusting something.
okay.
You know, my wife called me. Go ahead. What was your question?
Well, and do you have any final thoughts on the post credit scene before we wrap up the episode discussion?
Yeah, I don't think that post credit scenes, and I feel like what even James is saying, he's trying to differentiate in terms of how he wants this universe to operate compared to the MCU, right? 'Cause I think we can say that hey, even though MCU had a good track record, but yet we've seen how this is working for them now. And right now on a good note for the moment, but like leading up to the next project, he's like, no, I don't want there to be people to be waiting for the next thing. But yeah, we have post credit scenes there. Sometimes be a joke, sometimes be leading up to something here. But this show was never intended to be a appetizer for Superman, even though that at the time of this recording, you already got what 7 episodes of a great animated series. On top of that, you have the Superman trailer, and here we are also getting ready to shoot another movie. On top of that, another show in the coming weeks. So yeah, you got what you want to hear as a good appetizer for DCU content. But you know what's coming. We have the trailer release, so you can stop asking questions about what leads into whatever. Or why didn't we see David Cornstar's Superman? Blah blah blah. You have the freaking trailer. Yeah, that's our appetizer, and let's ready for the main entree in July. So yeah. Aside from that, I think the show ended up in the way it did. And I'm glad that it got renewed for season 2, and hopefully other like you can do more bigger and grander stories to actually in terms of at the time when season 2 come they have a more fleshed out DCU, so we're like hey, more like established characters that at the moment right now have not been cast can be in there or referred to whatever. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But again, I'm happy what we have here. And terms also now James Gunn, but also the director of all these episodes and stuff. I thought they did a good job. And also understanding when James, like by the time of this recording, we also see when in episode 6 when James was talking about the tease for Batman, has like, no, I'm not ready to commit to this. I'm not ready to commit to that XYZ. That shows level of restraint, but more importantly, respect to those characters and respect to overall universe that he's trying to create. And he doesn't want to jump the gun, no pun intended, in terms of I'm gonna set up a teaser for something and really don't pay off that in that next coming movie, because I've seen Marvel done that recently and that has not been working for their benefit. But yeah, so yeah, do your own thing and let them cook.
Well, with that said, let's get to the latest news before we wrap up. So, okay, of course, Creature Commandos has been renewed for season 2. At this time, we don't know. Kitty, we don't know when season 2 is going to come out. Could if it's going to be later this year or next year. But then, in the movie side of things, there's been a lot happening. So, first of all, I mean, again, if you people who saw my saw the episode 6 of the podcast last week, because we had recorded just before they announced that they were pushing the Batman Part 2 to 2027, and I put in a funny little that Lip called it, but per the only he is a prophet, but the only details we have right now is According to Deadline, production isn't scheduled to get started until late summer, and with a VFX-heavy sequel such as this one, a fall 2026 theatrical release is within reach. The Reeves movie will have IMAX screens apparently. I mean, listen, once they announced Clayface, like it made no sense. Just because one is DCU and one is not DCU, that it doesn't. It's still DC movies coming out 1 month after the other. Like it would never have made sense to put them this close to each other, especially from a marketing standpoint, because that means that you're putting the marketing team at DC Studios under like a lot of work to do, and that's just not good for business. I'm not really again. I know a lot of you are like up in arms and upset, but I'm not necessarily like. I'm not bothered by it. Like, we know that if Matt Reeves gets enough time to finish what he wants to do, with the Batman 2, it's gonna be worth the wait. And plus, there is so much Batman media out there R-rated. I'm like, okay, doesn't matter that we have to wait 1 more year for the Batman Part 2. It's like,
See, again, this is a part that's frustrating. Also, from aside from just as someone was also like a journalist too, because you're watching people who are just good at making these TikTok videos on videos like, hey, anyone who's telling you not to worry about the delay of Batman 2, they are freaking insane. Because like I'm like, oh, it did not take this long to write a script, even though I never wrote a script in my entire fucking life. Even though it did not take this long to make this movie, even though it took me, I never wrote a movie or directed a movie in my entire life, nor made one. I only watch them and stuff like that. Therefore you think you have to say what is actually okay for a creative process to go and what is not. I just don't get it. It's like we've had other stories that have had long awaited delays and awaited stories time between them. Again, the Dark Knight, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, even though Christopher Nolan had had other films in between those, but you have to understand, it's like even then, Matt Reeves also has other projects that he's also producing, not just with this. And then the fact that we just got the Penguin show does not mean you guys think, oh yeah, so we're in the movie next year. No, but at least we got some piece of content within this world, just like a month ago or so, right? And just like now it's like, oh, that's not enough. Let's wait, and I'm just like, hey, we could have not gotten this Penguin show and just been, just cold turkey, until 2027, 2028, whatever, right? But we got an amazing show to dive into, at least several hours of content within this world of the Batman. So 8 hours, right? So now I'm okay you taking whatever time you need to make in terms of the Batman, but at the same time, also we have other things that in terms of DC content that we'll have in our disposal to digest and actually to feed our appetite until we get to your movie. And by the time we get to those movies, the Batman will be coming out, within a matter of time. So,
I also want to add the fact that. Yeah, because James responded to someone on threads about it, and I quote, "To be fair, a 5-year gap or more is fairly common in sequels. 7 years between Alien and Aliens, 14 years between Incredibles, 7 years between the first 2 Terminators, 13 years between Avatars, 36 years between Top Guns, and of course 6 years between Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and 3. And look what's happening with Beyond the Spider-Verse right now. Like, we don't even know when that's coming out yet. So it's just, I think again, like film culture has just gotten there's been a lot of people gotten really, really spoiled and really entitled of we have to have this now. Like people don't understand how difficult it is to make some of these movies and how long it takes. And that's why if things film quickly or whatever, then it comes out in bad quality. And that's why we get something like some of the some of the less performing superhero movies in the last few years. Lip, do you have anything to say about this? I'm gonna give him the spotlight. Oh no!
Dun, dun, dun. Listen,
something's in
the thing.
Listen, Mike made a great point in that Matt Reeves is producing a whole bunch of other shit. There's number one. Number two, The movie was announced, greenlit, whatever, in April, May of 2022. And then what happened in October? James Gunn became head of DC Studios. Okay. So there's that. Then in the year 2023, we had massive strikes that lasted all the way from, I believe it was June until November, meaning Matt Reeves couldn't write the script for that long.
No, the writer strike actually was a little bit, because I think it was right around May, because like that's when, like, you know, suddenly all the Flash TV people, they couldn't even promote their movie.
Right. So you factor that in, right? But then you also factor in the fact that James Gunn becomes head of DC Studios. They oversee everything now produced for DC content, no matter what, minus Joker. That was the only thing that they did not have purview on. It was already in the can. They were editing the movie. They didn't even bother. Like Todd Phillips was told, do your own thing. Doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm. When
it comes to the Batman Part 2, they inherited the Penguin TV show. They had to stop filming that because of the fucking strikes. Okay. Mm-hmm. So everything was put on pause for the strikes. So there's fucking delay number one written all over it right there from 2025 to 2026. That's where that first delay comes from. Second delay. Now we're here. It's now being delayed from 26 to 27 because Matt Reeves still hasn't finished the script. Gee, I wonder why. Probably because him and James Gunn, if I had to venture a guess, probably sat down, had a conversation about, okay, which Batman villains are you using or do you want to use in the near immediate future so I don't use them and there's any kind of overlap? That's my guess. I can't say that for sure. You know, I don't know. But at the same time, like, I don't think it's a conversation of, oh, you can't use this villain. It's more like, how do we make sure we don't cross each other's lanes? You know what I mean? Because a lot of people like to play this pissing match game of like, oh, since James Gunn is his boss, what he says, it's like, no, that's not how fucking collaboration works. Okay. Number two, Matt Reeves, as Mike mentioned, has his finger in a lot of different Batman pies right now. Cape Crusader, the Penguin, Clayface. Matt Reeves, Six in Idaho, is producing the fucking Clayface movie set in the DCU.
Mm-hmm.
In my humble opinion, from my perspective, Matt Reeves is in a way being courted or shepherded to basically being what Michael Uslan has been to Batman since 1989. Bingo. He is going to be an overarching shepherding producer of everything Batman. This is not like Christopher Nolan. This is not, no, I don't want my character interacting with anyone else. No one gets to touch my shit. No, Matt Reeves is doing fucking opposite. He wants his character to do his thing in his movie. And that's just it. Then he's also like, oh, okay, I'll help you out with this, that, and the other thing. Now, granted, I don't know how true this is, but there are rumors swirling that there are some personal things going on. If that's the case, let him fucking deal with it. Pipe the fuck down, quiet on the front of, oh, well, they're just going to forge Batman Part 2 into the DCU and Pattinson's going to be the DCU Batman.
It's fucking stupid.
We just, like,
it's hilarious. It's absolutely fucking hilarious.
It's like, did you just not see the most recent episode of Creature Commandos? Tell me that version of Batman looks a fucking thing like Robert Pattinson. I'll tell you, it doesn't, because it's not happening. I don't know how many times James Gunn has to make this clear, but I'm making it clear right here, right now. I made it clear on my show. I'm making it clear here now. They are not going to be the same fucking character. Okay. Okay. Period, bar none. End of conversation. People who entertain this, oh man, Robert Pattinson will look so good next to David Cornsweet. What? No. Stop trying to impose your fan fiction bullshit on people who know how to do this better than you do.
Yeah, that's a fake ass Batman right there.
Right. And people saying, oh, well, that could be Robert Pattinson in a few years. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
Want to know why that doesn't make any sense? Because this happens before Creature Commandos. I mean, the mental gymnastics on display from people about this is in the same level of delusion who, wait for it, hot take incoming. It's the same level of delusion who people who legitimately think that the Snyderverse has a chance of continuing right now. And I say that wearing this goddamn t-shirt. I'm sorry, but look,
it's
Matt Reeves. Matt Reeves notoriously takes his time to write shit, and that's totally fine. But whatever changes he needs to make, or whatever they need to do to finish that script to make it pitch perfect, because look at here's the other side of that conversation. How many other comic book films? How many other comic book sequels have we seen that are just rushed, that are just the same, that are just tired and true of the same old tired bullshit we've seen before?
Mm-hmm.
I can't give enough logical reasoning for this without someone going, oh, but James Gunn can change his mind. Just fucking roll my eyes, man. There is just no point in talking to people who are just so up their own ass about what they think is actually going to happen when they have no fundamental understanding of how any of this shit actually works. But I digress.
Yeah,
My main
even-
point is,
yeah.
just real quick, my main point, the last thing I'll say on this is, if it got delayed, it got delayed for a reason. And if they're going to still shoot for a 2025 production start, all gravy. It'll be fine. And to the people saying that nobody's going to care about a Batman sequel, I'm just like, I'm sorry. The most profitable superhero DC has, and you're going to tell me nobody gives a shit about Batman?
This is what everyone is talking about this week from episode 6. This is the thing that everyone's talking about from episode 6. Yeah, like Batman fans will show up no matter what. So for me, like take a sip, because that ran. Ooh, like all you needed to finish it was just
I'd like to
this.
thank the Academy, the Queens, the Kings, the camera, and all of you. Bye, sweets. She's out.
Yep, he's out. He's out. I mean, yeah, Lip is out. Alyssa Edwards, what a queen. But yeah, so for me, like, I mean, yeah, the thing is that I'm not even expecting them to start filming even like next summer. I think it's gonna be like next
fall
or early 2026. It's like, let them take their time. And again, it's the fact that we get to have Matt Reeves involved. Again, I gotta Lip hit it right on the head there. I love that Matt Reeves is doing the opposite thing of Christopher Nolan, being like, okay, like I let me have my thing, but I would love to help, help you, guideline Batman for the DCU. So it also shows that Matt Reeves isn't against the idea of a comic book, like comic booky Batman. He loves all of it, and it's just very annoying that people are so. Yeah, they're entitled. Like, there's no other word to say. Like, people are really entitled. And yeah, if Matt is going through something personal, yeah, like guys, he's a human first, filmmaker second. Like, let people, take the time they need. If they're going through something difficult right now, if it is true, I'm putting emphasis on it. If it is true, you know, then let him have his time. So because and that's the thing. Because this is where we see that the effect of DC Studios is more powerful than DC films, because the last time we had a filmmaker that went through something personal, Warner Bros. Did some of the ugliest shit that I've ever seen in my professional career. Of instead of delaying Justice League for a few more months, while Zack is dealing with this horrible loss in his family, they used this opportunity to phase him out and put one of the most abusive filmmakers in charge instead, which is Joss Whedon, just so everyone knows for clarity. And that's why I'm like, with these two, I'm like, yeah, they are respecting filmmakers, and they're letting filmmakers like also be human. So if something's going on with Matt, I'm we're sending our thoughts and positive vibes to him. And again, we have so much else when it comes to like films and TV shows in DC Studios. We have so much else that we're gonna get. So take several fucking seats to people who are bitching about this.
Not to mention, there's just like I don't know, a whole back catalog of a bunch of Batman movies to watch in the meantime. Just gonna throw that out there just for good measure.
But then, so this came out this week. No, last week, I believe. Jason Momoa is back with DC.
That was Monday. That was the 30th.
That was Monday.
It was this week, but yeah.
I was on vacation, so like all these days have mixed up for me. They've all like kind of merged into one. But
Right.
Jason Momoa is back at DC, but not as Aquaman, as motherfucking Lobo. He will be starring in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, which is, at the time of this recording, is reportedly starting filming next week. And Jason finally got his dream. Like, I mean, I'm thrilled for him. I'm happy for him. Like, because listen, like, I love Aquaman 1. hate Aquaman 2. But I knew that, I know that I don't like Aquaman. I only watched Aquaman 2 for it was boring. I actually
I'm
fell
I'm
asleep.
I'm not laughing because I disagree. I'm laughing at your reaction. I genuinely had no idea. I don't. We talk about so much shit. I
Yeah,
couldn't remember
I
if we
fell
talked about it or not.
asleep watching Aquaman 2 in the theaters. At least 10 minutes, I was all past that, and I'm like, oh my god, what did I miss? And I'm like, oh my god, this movie is actually boring me the hell out. I only wanted to watch, because I think Mara is one of the most badass characters of all time. So I just wanted to see what we're gonna get with Amber Heard. But the rest of the film, I was just kind of like, I almost reached for my phone. But I know Jason Momoa, he's a great actor, and I think that someone like Lobo, it's gonna be perfect for him. I know there's been a lot of discussion about why is Lobo in Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow. I know that Tom King had said at some point that initially when he pitched this as a comic to DC, he had pitched it as a Supergirl Lobo duo, but then they reworked it, and now this is kind of coming to fruition. So, I don't expect Lobo to have a huge role in this. Honestly, I feel like he's just going to be there in the beginning and then maybe something at the very, very end. But listen, there's no one else better suited to play Lobo than Jason Momoa. So I'm super happy that he gets to come back and do this. No, it does not mean that every other Snyderverse actor is going to come back. Henry he's doing Warhammer and other stuff. Ben, I don't think he wants to do superheroes at all anymore. Ezra Miller is Ezra Miller, and Gal Gadot is Gal Gadot. That's my nice way of putting it. And Ray Fisher, we know that Ray Fisher is never going to work with, anything with Warner Bros. Ever again. So, which I fully had.
Well, that may not be true because the guy is gone that he had an issue with.
Well, but also he's always talked about it. He still wants a proper apology, even from
Walter.
Right, but he still kind of holds I
understand bad blood, but there's a known perpetrator who was in that he.
Yeah,
that
I know Walter is gone. I know Walter is gone.
Well, two of them actually. One of them he'll never get an apology from him, but the other one maybe. But still, they all gone.
But what do we think about? Okay, I will start with you. As someone who again, you've followed Snyder since the beginning. What do you think about Momoa coming back now as Lobo? And what do you think the plan is for him in the DC beyond, in Supergirl, but beyond Supergirl?
Well, first of all, I think the role's a little bit bigger than just something at the beginning and the end. I don't think you cast Jason Momoa in there just to have him show up for less than 5 minutes. I think there is a bounty hunter character in the book, and I think they're probably kind of doing a swap here. They're instead of just having this generic bounty hunter who does a thing to Supergirl in the book. I know you're reading it right now, if I'm not mistaken.
I'm still in the midst of it. Yeah.
Okay, so you're going to get to a point in the book where a bounty hunter comes into play against Supergirl, and I'm guessing that this is where they kind of swap that, possibly. I don't know. The book does open up with Supergirl in a bar. There could be very well some, interaction there between Lobo and Supergirl before things really get crazy. Because we know he's Lobo. He's a fucking drunk. He's an intergalactic bounty hunter. He rides an intergalactic space bike. He smokes cigars. He's just one BAMF, and that energy that Jason Momoa brings. Bad motherfucker. And you look at Jason Momoa, you look at a picture of Lobo, and it's yep, that it's like looking at it's like that Jenna Fisher Office thing. It's the same picture. It's like that, it's. I have no animosity because this to me is like, we've seen fucking Mark Strong do this 3 times. He was
Mark Strong is everywhere when it comes to Warner properties.
He was Sinestro in Green Lantern, the movie. No one likes him.
Perfect Sinestro.
He was a great Sinestro. He was Dr. Sivana in Shazam. He was fucking Carmine Falcone in The Penguin. And he is also Don Corino in Dune. So he's in bed with WB. And I mean that in a nice way. I don't mean that in a shady way. But yeah, and Jason Momoa, to Andy's credit, mentioned for a while, I'd love to be Lobo. And it's that makes fucking sense. And this isn't an exclusive thing to one side or the other. Marvel Studios literally just did this not even 5 years ago. They had Gemma Chan play Minerva in Captain Marvel, and then literally a year later, they cast her as Cersei in The Eternals. Like, this is not a new concept
No.
of actors doing different roles in the same fucking universe or, similar universes. This is not a novel concept. Actors act. It's what they are paid to do.
Yeah,
Now,
Ebon was Micro and Punisher. Now he's the Thing.
Bingo. Thank you. Yes, exactly. And, it's just, I have no animosity towards it one way or the other. I'm if Jason Momoa wants to fucking be Lobo, he gets a chance to be Lobo. Cool. That's great. More power to him. I can't wait to watch the movie. I was already sold because I've read the book and I know how it goes. I was going to watch the movie regardless, but now I'm just like, oh, okay, here's a new element that is not in the book, and I'm very curious to see how it's executed here. What kind of plans do they have for him down the line? I don't know. That's the lovely piece. That's the lovely bit of it. We all know that Jason Momoa had ambition to maybe play Aquaman maybe one more time after that second movie, but well, Warner Brothers did the Warner Brothers thing and they fucked that movie to high hell. It is what it is. And hey, now he gets a chance to play a different character. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen for everyone else that was a part of, the Snyderverse. I don't at all think Ben Affleck is coming back, like at all, period. he checked out of Batman with the Flash. He was like, yeah, no, I'm fucking done. Y'all replace me with George Clooney. I'm out. No thanks.
I think the only thing he would ever do is like if he played Thomas Wayne and just gets killed off,
maybe even in the off chance you get him to play fucking Flashpoint Thomas Wayne. Maybe
that would be cool. That would be cool. Yeah,
just maybe. I don't know. Henry Cavill definitely ain't coming back, and I have that on some pretty solid authority. But that's a different conversation for a different day. Gal Gadot, probably not. No, she's busy being Snow White. I don't think Ezra Miller has been.
No. She's
the evil queen. Rachel Zegler.
I know. I'm just saying she's busy in Snow White.
Because you said she's busy being Snow White, so we didn't hear the end.
Yeah, she's busy being in Snow White,
which is probably gonna flop too.
Who knows? People have been mad about those Disney remakes, but hey, it's par for the course. Disney remakes great movies from animation, and they turn out horribly in live action. It's just par for the course with Disney. See, Mike gets it. Ezra Miller hasn't really been in anything since The Flash. I don't see them coming back for anything at all. And to Mike's point, I don't think Ray Fisher is exactly lining up to play another DC character at all. Yeah. I think he's going to pursue a more auteuristic career in acting.
And frankly, he's been thriving.
Yeah, dude, the piano lesson was fucking awesome. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Yeah,
it's great.
Next week.
Yep. It's great. It's absolutely fantastic. But yeah, maybe, probably not. But maybe Amber Heard gets called for another role. I doubt that, but we'll see.
You know what? I would be here for Amber Heard to come back.
I would too. I just think the optics of her situation kind of reflect, Ezra Miller's in a certain respect. I just don't see either of them coming back for similar reasons, to put it plainly, without getting too nitty gritty into the details. But I do think that, maybe Will Smith could come back as Deadshot. Possibly. Don't know for sure. I would too. I was actually quite surprised by how much I liked his version of Deadshot. But I also think that the door is open. But I also think the door is open in a way that maybe some can come back into some similar capacity. Some can come back in a different capacity. Whether it's anyone from Snyder's films specifically, I would say Jason Momoa was probably the only one who had a shot at coming back to begin with. And it was probably going to be in this capacity because he had teased this like a while ago.
And that's why I'm so happy for him that because he had to keep the secret for a long time about Aquaman, and now so yeah, Jason Momoa, he is good at keeping secrets, and I respect him for that. Mike, what are your thoughts on Momoa being cast as Lobo? You're muted.
Yeah, no, I called it. I saw this coming a mile away, and I think again, we're in a good time for DC, and much of we don't want to act like it, or at least as some general audiences. Like, it is a good time to be a DC fan. I think we have some things, really getting the things that we've been asking for. Maybe not things we want, but I know for us as DC fans in the long haul, it's what we need. Is not only consistency, but dedication, in terms of actually having good stories, actors who are passionate about these characters, and also not getting into any mess or anything like that to like ruin it for everybody and stuff. But yeah, and also again, fan favorite, like you want to have an actor that was not only that he's a fan of this character, but he's like, no, this is the character I've been collecting the comics the most out of any other character has been him, right? And I remember, from my first time I met him was in Justice League, with Justice League Unlimited. Well, actually, it's Justice League season 1 or 2, I believe. Yeah, in that whole like Vandal Savage episode. But yeah, when Superman got sent to the future. But yeah, I thought again it was an amazing character, and I'm honestly with this, I will not be surprised by the end of next year we get announced. Well, if it would get an announcement that they're in development for a series for him, not a movie but a series.
I think,
On
yeah, I
HBO.
honestly, I think a show would like make more sense,
Yes,
and um and honestly, I also wouldn't be shocked if Lobo in some ways becomes like the Deadpool of the DCU. Like I know some people like been like, "Man, Lip, get ready to cover your ears because I know you don't like hearing him." But a lot of people are always thinking that Peacemaker was going to be that, but I'm like, no, I think it's going to be Lobo. I think it's going to be more natural for someone like Momoa to do that. Also, I mean, I know I'm just spitballing here, but like if they do a Lobo show, God, I would love if Zach could just direct at least one episode, like because I would love to see what Zach would do with Lobo
I
as
bet
a
that's the one time you actually would think that like a character that can do something like that, like in that style, whatever. Yeah, Zach can do that. But I think with Momoa, he's a leading man. Like
he's
he
one
led
hundred
series as
percent.
well, which is why I think series format will be the way to go. But I don't want to jump the gun. I keep saying this, but about with the shooting of Supergirl is how they're going to position his character in the overall universe to say, oh, we need a series of him. Like, I want series of other characters. I'm just saying the fact that you got this casting, I think you got to wait to the response of when we actually see him in Supergirl, and also as audience, that we actually grow to love him, which you already love the casting, already
Yeah.
enjoy Jason.
Yeah,
So
I haven't seen like this is the first time in a long time where I haven't seen a single complaint about this. Like people are just like everyone is embracing this, and so I'm here for it. We're gonna
There
go
is
back.
a very small vocal minority of people who call it lazy and uninspired, and they're basically saying, "Oh, if you're cutting clean and starting a new universe, why are we bringing back people from the previous?" And it's just like, dude, it's one role and one person. It's not like you're getting Ben Affleck to come and play Wildcat for like a 3-picture deal or something. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
it's fucking Jason Momoa, and he's playing a
That would be
role
kind of
that
that would be kind of fun role to see him as
it's
Ted
something I
Grant.
thought about. It not gonna lie, it is something I thought about. I thought he'd be a pretty solid Ted Grant. Now that I think about it, but I was actually thinking about it on the way home when I was listening to another podcast. But yeah, like there is a very small vocal minority, and I say vocal in like the loosest terms because they're not very
Facebook.
loud. Not even Facebook. Actually, I heard this. Excuse me, on a podcast from a couple of friends of mine that I listened to, where one guy on the show and another person who's on that app that I'm not on, they were having a conversation about, oh, this is lazy, oh, this is dumb, they need a better actor. And I'm just like, well, you probably are the only few who are paying attention in that way and feel that way. So tough for you, I guess.
But yeah, this is exciting, and it's gonna be fun to see what they do, especially as they get ready to start filming. And hopefully there will be some stuff to come out publicly so we can see what they're gonna look like.
Well, the movie starts filming in 10 days as of this recording.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, no, yeah. I said next week.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, it's more like
but it will be this week when this episode airs. On
right.
YouTube.
Okay, you're. I keep thinking,
Yeah.
forgetting like we're doing
Yeah.
this earlier.
Yeah,
Sorry.
we're in the future.
We're in the
everyone.
future, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Going to the last topic before we wrap our episode is the Brave and the Bold movie. So it remains still in development, but recently, right before the holidays, Andy Muschietti was asked in an interview, and this is from. I didn't do this translation, so again, this is just from what I've seen on another website. So hopefully, this is exactly what he said. The Batman project has been postponed a little bit, so I might do another film before that. And of course, the internet does what it always does: is that it loses its fucking mind and thinks that the movie has been delayed. So someone asked James on, I think this is Blue Sky, saying where he quote unquote, and I this is an extreme way to phrase this. James, so was Matt Reeves lying when he said this? And I will get to the screenshot that he included. And is it also coincidence that Brave and the Bold, a movie that has a release date, was also delayed the same day? And the screenshot that includes is, I think it's from the whole report from Deadline. What we know from Variety, what we know about the Batman Part 2 is super limited, resulting in rumors and chatter online about Robert Pattinson's casting in a new Christopher Nolan movie, The Odyssey, as well as James Gunn's confirmation that the script was not finished and had fans concerned that the sequel will be delayed. Matt Reeves himself spoke to Variety about what's going on behind the scenes, offering, "Yeah, we're finishing the script. We're going to be shooting next year." And James' response to it was that A, the Brave and the Bold hasn't been delayed, so I'm not sure what you're talking about. B, Matt didn't lie. He said they were finishing the script, i.e., he's not finished. Reading comprehension, ladies and gentlemen. Fucking learn it. Sorry, that was
No, okay. I mean, look, when I saw people say that this project was delayed, my first immediate thought was just like, you can't delay a project that hasn't been fucking greenlit.
and no release date either.
Right. So there's that. Number two, yeah, Matt Reeves said in a Variety breakdown with Zoe Kravitz, they're finishing the script.
Or a draft of it. You don't even know. Again, and then
Right.
scripts have redrafts of it. It just, this is my thing. Again, everybody want to act like we're a freaking expert in the field industry, understanding the creative process, how it goes. But even in the announcement he made over a year or two ago about Gods and Monsters, there was no date attached to Brave and the Bold whatsoever at all. And then the fact that
in fact, from the press notes I got, it was like one of the things they referenced like towards the bottom of it, and I'm like,
yes, the later half, like we haven't gotten to Swamp Thing, Booster Gold, Authority might again be animated. That was the one of the second things that got announced, but then we got they're in development on two one other with Supergirl, and also one thing that they didn't even announce in that announcement with Clayface. So in that video, so it's just like this is my thing. Now I'll say this: I'm speaking thing as in the site, guys. Batman Brave the Bold 2030. 2031. If anything. But I'm just saying.
I don't think that far. I think if anything, because again, I don't know what I don't know what Andy Muschietti, what movie he's referencing that when he said I might do another movie, which again might mean that he hasn't signed up for another movie, but he said he might. I think if anything, because we already have releases for 2026, we already have movies for 2025. And they're not going to put Brave and the Bold the same year as the Batman Part 2. There's no fucking way.
Yeah, no.
I think it will be 2028. I don't think it will be 2030. I don't think it's going to be that far. Whether or not Andy Muschietti remains on the project or not, I don't know. We will see. But yeah, I'm so sick and tired of the Batman fans are this entitled that they get pissed off with the Batman 2 being delayed and not respecting that something could be going on with Matt Reeves, and then with the Brave and the Bold they're like making up narratives that that there was ever like a time frame for when the movie's supposed to happen. It's like, guys, reading comprehension is not that difficult. Well, I guess in some cases for some people it is, because clearly they're accusing Matt Reeves of lying. And I'm like, we're finishing the script. Finished. Listen to the grammar. Finishing.
You guys want to know a fun fact?
What's up?
Matt Reeves finished the script for the first Batman movie in February of 2020. You know what happened a month later? COVID-19. You know what Matt Reeves did in the interim between March and September before they got back to shooting?
What, he tinkered that long?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They shut production down. They did not start filming again until mid-September. And you know what Matt Reeves did in that interim time?
DC fandom?
He tinkered with the script. The point I'm getting at is Matt Reeves can turn in a final draft or a first draft, whatever, for what they have to shoot for Batman Part 2. that dude will probably still tinker with that fucking script until he finishes shooting that goddamn movie, because Matt Reeves is just that meticulous of a filmmaker. And as far as Andy Muschietti goes, doing The Brave and the Bold, look, I love Andy Muschietti. I think he did a phenomenal job with It Part 1 and 2. I love those movies. Those are the movies.
And his new show is coming out very soon.
Welcome to Derry. For that show. I can't wait either. I will pull out my copy of Stephen King's It. I fucking love that book. I love that story so much. And I think Andy Muschietti knocked it out of the park with those two movies. And even the Batman stuff in The Flash was great. The other parts of the movie, well, that's a whole other conversation. But I'm in the camp of like, I hope he doesn't leave the movie. I really don't. I don't like that people are trying to spin this narrative of oh fuck it, they're just gonna fold Robert Pattinson's Batman into the DCU, and it's just like, well, congratulations.
Again, look at this. Everyone, look at this.
It's like, could you make a bigger ass of yourself? Like, do you even give a shit about Andy Muschietti? Like, fuck you. That's my kind of takeaway from it. When people who are just like, oh, the Pattinson's going to fold into the DCU. That's going to be our Batman for the DCU. It's like, no, it's not. Like, I don't like that. And also, Batman Brave and the Bold is a very specific take on Batman. Like, we're going to see an older Batman who's got his son, who is Robin, who is the son of him and Talia al Ghul. And there's some creepy shit that happens in that book, Batman and Son. And I'm like, that is right up the alley of Andy Muschietti in his wheelhouse. Like, he's all about doing ensemble pieces, but he's also doing the wicked, crazy shit that happens in that book. Now, granted, as we know with Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, that was a book that was written by Tom King, and it had a very specific story they were telling. Well, guess what? They just added fucking Lobo into the movie. Who knows what exactly they're waiting for the Batman Brave and the Bold to give it that extra edge. Like, we don't want to just adapt like Batman and Son. Like, yes, this is the genesis and basis of the movie that we're trying to make. Yes. But what is the draw? What other element can we add to this movie to give it that extra fucking, you know? And I feel like Andy Muschietti is totally fine being like, look, you've got Superman, you've got Supergirl, you've got the Lanterns. Matt Reeves is doing his thing. I'm fucking fine with waiting. I think that's the approach he's probably taking, because we all know Ben Affleck walked the fuck away from his Batman movie for very personal reasons. And that's totally a thing that happens. I don't think Andy Muschietti is going to walk away from Batman Brave and the Bold, because you've got a vocal minority of people who are like, oh, fuck him, he shouldn't do it because of look at the Flash. And it's like, listen, we even have my friend here who isn't a big fan of the Flash, but the thing is, it's a fucking miracle he took that movie to the finish line.
Yep. Because no one else did.
No one else did. And also, he had to make that movie and finish that movie through 3 different regimes. Through Walter Hamada, through Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca, and then through James Gunn. Andy Muschietti, if anything, is collaborative. And I don't doubt one bit that...
No, I don't want to see him, Lee. I
don't either.
Yeah,
and I'm not saying you are either.
Yeah, if anything, I could see, because someone was saying on Twitter, like, well, what if, if Andy were not to do Batman, what if he did Clayface? And I'm like, but I kind of, again, I still kind of also want Mike Flanagan to do Clayface. Yeah. Like, I guess he's not going to direct it, because apparently, like, they're looking for a director, and
he's very busy. Mike Flanagan has a very big resume on his shoulders at the moment. Like, he's got Carrie that he's working on the Dark Tower. Mike Flanagan is basically the go-to Stephen King guy these days. He will adapt anything Stephen King because he just gets it. But he also has expressed, like, I want to do a Clayface story, and he apparently fucking wrote one, and James Gunn went, we're making that.
Yeah. So if anything, if Andy is, because I was kind of like, when he said I might do a movie for it, I'm like, if Andy did Clayface and also does Batman, I mean, it's the best of both worlds, because then that way, Andy also gets to set the foundation for his Gotham City in the DCU by starting with Clayface, and he can elements from Clayface and then carry into Brave and the Bold. And so, people learn to read and stop like trying. Also, like, stop bothering James Gunn with every fucking rumor that you see online, because it's like.
More specifically, quit bugging James Gunn about Batman.
Yeah. He knew this was going to happen. That's my thing. We all knew Like when when that episode came out and then Batman showed up, nobody gave a shit about anything else except for that. But here's the
Yeah,
thing though,
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I totally get it. This was
but
all.
we get it, and even then you can't. But at the same time, the people that are complaining about this, oh, this is bad and blah blah. Oh yeah, this is wrong. He should have, brought Batman this episode. Guess what? You guys are talking about it because you care.
Yeah.
Because you care.
You're doing what these studios want us to do. We're talking about it. That is a huge part of marketing where they're like, we don't have to pay for anything. These fans are doing it for us, and I'm not saying in a like malicious way because that's how any Hollywood studio operates. That they are dependent on the conversations going on by themselves, but that's gonna be it for the news talk, and this could be it for the Creature Commandos season 1 finale for the podcast. Of course, Creature Commandos podcast will be back for season 2. We just have to wait and see when we actually get season 2. But it has been so much fun bringing you both into the fold of being part of DC Studios podcast. I know, Mike, you're going to be back for Harley Quinn podcast with Vanessa, and of course, and now since we had such a good time doing the live stream, we should probably start looking at the idea of doing like more live DC Studio podcast recordings and engage with you guys, especially as we get now as we're now in 2025. I still used to say enter 2025. I'm like, no, we're there, Andy. Like it's January 3rd. But Lip, where can people find you on social media and your other projects?
Down there, unfiltered, everywhere except X. I'm not on X. I have not been on X in over a year. I'm not going back. But you can catch me on YouTube, Vero, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can listen to my Batman podcast, The Eternal Night. The last episode we did was last year. We talked about the Superman trailer. I'm sure we will get around to talking about all this Batman shit, Craig and I, my good co-host over there. You can catch me on the Council of Creators stream every Wednesday. You can also catch me on the Vodka stream every Friday. You can catch my live show, Friday Phil, on my YouTube channel every Friday at 4:05 p.m. You can read my reviews as well as other meanderings that I write on Multiverse of Color. And you can also catch me here on future episodes of the DC podcast, DC Studios podcast with my chum Andy and my friend Michael here when we get around to finding other DC shit to talk about, I'm sure. That was all off the top of my head. That wasn't scripted, FYI.
No, I know it wasn't scripted. That's what this is why you're unfiltered. You're like, you're unfiltered and you're unscripted. Mike, where can we find you on social media and all your other projects?
Yeah, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, all social medias at Jedi Mike 7. Brought to you by Sowell Media. I made that to LLC and everything. So I got big plans and stuff for 2025. But also, you'll see me here more on Multiverse of Color as well. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, Phil, also again for bringing me on board and stuff like that. I do have a blast, talking to you guys and stuff. I'm looking forward to a bright future and everything. Our partnership and everything and our collaborations on stuff. Really, I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, you can find me on all social medias and everything at Jedi Mike 7.
Then you're also on JVS.
Yes, I'm also on Team JVS as well. We got CinemaCon's coming up very, very soon. So we got things coming up here. But yeah, Harley Quinn, you'll see me here on Harley Quinn podcast and stuff. We'll be doing that with Vanessa. And some other people I heard, but yeah, so we'll be viewing that. But again, a bunch of interviews and reviews and stuff will be coming out and stuff. So yeah, make sure your notification, subscribe to all platforms and all that stuff. So, and we appreciate you guys' support through this journey. And yes, season two,
and you can find me at Anibite on Facebook, all social media pages, of course, and I'm also a senior writer and interview for ScreenRant.com. So if you want superhero coverage from news, from interviews, and you name it, that's where you can find me. I'm also I'm a proud editor-in-chief of All Doors of Color, with this amazing team of writers and content creators that we're working with, who are busting their asses off to give you guys unique perspectives on television, film, comics, and you name it. The Show No Whisper will be back this year. I'm currently editing some episodes and also recording some new episodes, so you will see that here soon on MOC. And you can also find me streaming live on Twitch, Kick, and YouTube. Not great at video games, but you will see me play video games. And also, because if any of the audience from DC Podcast or Multiverse of Color has been watching my YouTube channel throughout 2024, last year when I was literally doing my final stream, I got accepted into the YouTube partner program and being monetized again. So thank you for everyone who's helped me get there again. It was frustrating losing it the first time, but getting back to it and actually, seeing it live happen was amazing. So thank you for all your support there. And of course, you can find all the information about these studios podcasts and Multiverse Color and where to subscribe in the show notes below, because there are long plugs. My phone is getting tired, so. But next week or later this month, when Harley Quinn season
5
premieres on Max, you will have Harley Quinn podcast here on these studios podcast with Vanessa, Mike, and anyone else. It will, the same setup. Episodes will be released on both the DC podcast and Multiverse Color YouTube channels, and of course in audio format. But anyone who's been following us for our Creature Commandos podcast, thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed the show, and until the next one, have a good one, and we will catch you whenever Creature Commandos comes back. See ya.